Hey everyone, Michael here with Hello Cupcake Its Me, and today is the Saturday check-in. It is March 29th, 2025, and how are you? So, if you haven't done so already, please hit like and subscribe, then head on over to podcast.hellocupcakeitsme.com to check out the podcast that is updated every Thursday. Make sure that you follow me on all the different social medias and check out the blog at www.hellocupcakeitsme.com and my book, Carpe Diem Scroto 365 Daily Affirmations at www.cdsthebook.com. So, yes, have a new ensemble today. It's giving very Rosie the Riveter, giving very, I don't know what, but as per usual, literally just woke up, did not feel like brushing my hair, even though the brush is literally right here. So I was like, you know what? Banana. So here we are. I was up super late last night. Went out with a friend and we ended up at the casino. And any of you who know me know I fucking hate going to the casino for anything more than to eat. And that's all we were supposed to do, was just go eat. Well, I did the one thing that I never do, and I played a little. And when I mean a little, I'm talking a little, because I didn't even have the money to play plus the food. You know, I went in there on a motherfucking hope and prayer. Now, because March is my birthday month, had I known, had a bitch known I could have gotten my food for free, I would have done that. But by the time I went and got my player card and they're like, hey, go back, they'll like do a retroactive pay on it or whatever else. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Got back to the restaurant and they're like, oh no, your ticket's already been cashed out. And I said, yeah, it was cashed out to cash, not a debit card. I paid cash for my thing. And she's like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'm like, but front desk literally said, come back here, get my meal, like, taken care of. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. That's not a thing. I'm like, so I had this chicken brioche sandwich. Basically, it was brioche bun, chicken, a little bit of cheese. I think it was mozzarella, with a balsamic glaze and a basil pesto with fries. Right, $20. Okay, not a problem. Um, I specifically told the waiter I want the glaze on the side and I want the pesto on the side, because earlier that day I had a caprese salad for dinner or for lunch, and I was dealing with some heartburn and issues and all that other stuff, and I just did not want more like basil. And I really don't like pesto, and I know that it's basil, olive oil, and like pine nuts kind of grounded together or whatever. I don't understand it. I just don't like it. So, when they brought out the sandwich, sure as shit, the thing was dripping with freaking basil. There were little tomatoes all over it, like cherry tomatoes, not like regular sized tomatoes. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, one slice of tomato would have sufficed, not 37 cherry tomatoes. But the only thing that was in a side was the balsamic glaze. Then the waiter only came by like 3 times. And, you know, I'm I'm sitting here being a little thirsty, like, where the fuck is my glass? And every time he'd come up, You're like, hey, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. Blah. And then he would take off, and it's like, bitch, where the fuck is my water? So he comes, delivers us our checks, never gives us water, never takes our plates away or anything. And I was like, you are getting the worst tip probable. So I and they already break down the gratuity as to what to give it. And I was just like, you know what? No. $4. That's all you're getting. Slammed it in the envelope and like just tossed it onto the table. And I was gonna say something about him, but I was just like, no, I'm not gonna be that Karen. So whatever. But man, it was okay. I'm just spoiled to my bar's food, which is basically what I got at this restaurant, was like basic bar bitch food. And I'm just like, for this price, I could have gotten so much more over at the bar, but I didn't want bar food. But well, here we were getting bar food. Um, and like I said, I played a little bit. I put $20 into the machine, and I should have known better. But I was playing the Game of Thrones, slot machine. So I was like, you know what? This is kind of calling to me right now. Let me go, just try my luck. Who knows? It could be a birthday miracle, right? Like that would have been awesome to hit that for $200-$300. That would have been freaking beyond awesome. Even if I would have gotten like just $100 off of $20, like that would have made my entire day worth it. So sorry guys, I got to change out my insulin. I'm at 8 units, and I had to shut it off in the middle of the night because I was not getting up to change this shit. So anyways, yeah. But yesterday was just kind of a really interesting day. This whole week has been really interesting, and not in a very funny haha sort of way. It's just been like, huh. So yeah, that happened type of way. Um had my very first ART therapy session on Thursday, and that was really kind of interesting and unique. We did the eye movements using the bilateral bar where you follow a light back and forth. And a memory that came up was not a memory that I wanted to work on, but she said, since it came up, let's work on it. And it was a memory of when I was younger, my biological mother physically abusing me because I got kicked off of the school bus, and apparently I was talking back to her, and her favorite thing to say in those instances was, I'm not going to take no shit from insert age, mealy mouth, punk ass kid. And apparently, whatever I said enraged her enough that she decided that she was going to slam a I was somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. That's all I know. But she was going to slam me into a door jam. And then she slapped me across the face, threw me at a wall, and I hit the back of my head, fell on my bed, and then she got on top of me, holding me down, and slapped me back and forth like this a couple of times, the whole time yelling and screaming at me. And then got up and left and told me I wasn't allowed to leave my room. And so that came up. And so she's like, okay, when I went through it the first time, she's like, check in with yourself. Where do you feel this? What's going on? Told her, I said, I feel like flushed in the face, this pain going around the back of my head, and I felt hard to breathe. And she said, what emotions were you feeling? I said, I felt scared, mad, and helpless. And she said, okay, those are all uh, very valid responses. So, I want you to go through it this time and be like a bystander watching this happen. Okay. Follow the lights, thinking about it. Like, then one of the altars, like, had me, like, kind of cracking up, and I'm trying not to laugh during this time period. And she stopped and she said, okay, what's going on? I saw you start to smirk. And I said, one of the altars, one of the whatevers, was like, fuck this bitch. She had no right to do that to you, and all of these other things. And it was like kind of basically making fun of the situation. And she's like, well, what was being said? And I said, well, and I explained everything that was being said, and she started laughing or whatever. And she actually, like, at one point started crying because I guess some of the things that I do, people don't do until they're like 20th, until like their 20th session or whatever. And she's like, okay, I got to be really awkward and be the crying one right now. And I'm like, why? She's like, because I can't believe, like, the breakthrough you've had already. You talk to your support system, they respond to you. You, like, how you have developed is amazing. I said, well, I didn't know this wasn't a thing until just recently. Like, y'all are the ones that brought this up and, like, told me about these things. I said, prior to that, I thought I was just normal. I mean, normal or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, you guys, this is something I've done my entire life. I've never actually felt the switching between the people before, but there has been those times where I'm just like, okay, I can't deal with this right now. And then I would feel this strange calmness come over me. And I just thought that was my coping mechanism. I didn't realize that it was one of my alters, one of my other personalities, whatever the hell you want to call it. I still don't fully understand all of the terminology, but what the hell ever. That's neither here nor there. So, anyways, that was really unique and interesting. Another thing that happened that Thursday was, for whatever reason, going to the Dollar Tree afterwards is kind of like become a ritual with me. I do my therapy session, then I go to the Dollar Tree, and then I come home. Well, while I was at the Dollar Tree, I was walking and I saw this lady kind of like every time I walked by. And I was like, what the fuck is this bitch's problem? Like, is she stealing? Is she just twacked out? What is she doing? So, I grabbed a couple of things of yarn and I grabbed some other stuff on that aisle. And as I go to walk behind or past her, she's all, I'm like, whatever. And as I walk past, I see her neck and the tattoo on her neck, and I automatically realize that it's my old friend. And the fact that somebody that I knew and loved for 13, 14, 15 years, I didn't even fucking recognize. And um everything about her was different. She had blonde hair, she had glasses on, um, and then she was just like really kind of twitchy or whatever. And I walked past her and she gets her stuff and she walks really fast in the opposite direction and goes down another aisle, and I stop and I'm like, uh-uh. So I walk up that aisle and she's just like, and I walked right up to her and I said, hey, I wasn't ignoring you. It's just been a while since I've seen you as a blonde, and I wanted to say hi, and it looks good on you, and I hope you're good. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, cool. And literally spun on my heels and walked away, and I felt so good about that interaction. Like that was like for me, okay? Um I I could have gone and not said shit to her, but my spirit wouldn't let go of it. Like, I was standing in line to check out, and my spirit's like, take your ass back and go say something to her. Because either way, it's going to get spun that I either didn't say anything to her because I was afraid to, or whatever else, or like, that motherfucker didn't even say hi to me. Or it's good. It was a catch-22 situation, no matter how it panned out. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be this person. I'm going to be the person that says, hello, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Be blessed. So that's what I did. Um, I felt really, really good about that whole situation. So, yeah. But I came home and went straight into knitting. And I have been a knitting fool, and I need to show you one of the most underrated things in the universe that has made my life so much more enjoyable, working with fabrics, and it's this stupid little device here. It is a yarn ball winder, and you stick your yarn on here and you crank it, and it winds your yarn into a ball like this. So normally they come in like these little logs. They're called skeins, but for those of you who are not, fancy technical crafter person, I didn't know that these were called cakes. Don't know why they're called cakes, but yeah. So I get about 3 of these per a skein of yarn, and I'm just like, you know what? This is kind of cool. And the whole reason that I even went to the dollar store that day is because they had been selling 3 and 5 gallon Tupperware containers, and I was like, I want one of those for all my yarn supplies. So for the last few days, all I've been doing is winding up all of my yarn. So this is like a whole bag of yarn, different yarns that I've wound together, and I have been making beanies, and I've been making scarves and all kinds of other stuff. So this is one beanie that I made, and I made this ridiculous little pom-pom, like, for no reason. Now, you're probably thinking that's super hella huge, but this is not stretched out, and this part rolls up still, so I make them kind of long like this, so then that way you can stretch it to the size of your head, and then you decide how much of a roll you want at the bottom. But like, if I was to completely unroll this, there's like probably another 1.5 to 2 inches of rolled fabric right there. This is another one that I made, and I love this yarn. It is vintage, and I have no idea how to even come across more of it, but I used the last of it to make a pom-pom and a scarf, and like, these colors don't even do it justice on the camera here, but you see the difference between the scarves. Like, this is more of a cable knit, and then this is more of a knitted. When I make this type of a scarf, I use what's called a knitting loom. So you wrap your yarn around here, and then you go over it like a bajillion times until it makes this. And this is actually, in comparison, it's probably the same length as this, except for this part right here is about 15 to 30 rows, and then I fold it in on itself to make a brim. And then I go up, cinch it at the top, sew it together, make the pom-pom, stick it in, and call it good. When I make hats and stuff on a loom like this, it takes me forever to get one done. So this hat took me 3 days, because I can only do it for so long before my arms and my hands and everything start cramping up. This took me longer than I'd like to admit to. And the only reason that, would you stay up there? I had to remake this hat 3 different times because it fell off, or it dropped a stitch and I just couldn't pick it back up. So took me a little bit longer than I would like to admit to, but well, it works. It worked out, and I was finally just kind of happy to be done with it. I made this beanie a few years ago, and it's like super fuzzy. I need to go. One of the things I'm going to do today is go to the Dollar Tree and see if they have a sweater shaver. But this is my favorite beanie. Like, this is the one that I wear all the time, and I think I'm going to update it by adding a pom pom to it, because, well, I love pom poms on my stuff. But here's the scarf that I made to go with that other retro beanie. I didn't have any leftover yarn to make little tassels or even do pom poms on this, but this is once this is like fully stretched out, it's about a 4 foot, maybe longer scarf, and it's just a real thin, like, kind of pencil scarf, just something that you can just wear and enjoy. So we're doing a little bit of show and tell right now. What else is there? A friend of mine found out that I was doing scarves and asked for a rainbow scarf. So this is just a plain flat rainbow scarf, but it kind of rolls. So, you know, starts off with the purples on the end, then blue, green, yellow, orange, red in the center. So I can't remember if I started off with red and went out, or if I started with the purple and went backwards. From the way that it looks, I started with purple and went backwards because it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And so with red being in the center, I'm assuming that I went backwards and did purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, and then stopped at red. I also did this scarf, and this is one of my favorites. I actually have a beanie that goes with it, but this is a much, much larger scarf that I did on a loom, and this is cable knit also, and it's so nice and warm. I call it my Charlie Brown scarf because, well, it looks like Charlie Brown. And this is from like years ago when I wasn't really, when I was kind of new to knitting and everything. So there's a few flaws in it, but you know what? I love this scarf, and like I said, I wear it every so often. Now, if I did it in yellow and blue, of course, it would be a minion scarf, but you know, that's a pretty hefty scarf. Um, this is another scarf that I did to go with my black and red beanie. I don't wear it all that often, and there are some parts of it that need to be fixed or whatever, but just black and red granny stitch type of a scarf. And I have also washed this a couple of times, so things have kind of like pooled here and there and are just kind of obvious. But you know, what else have I made? I did this black beanie, so not as long as the red one, but you know, it does have the ability to roll up a little bit and a little bit bigger of a tassel or bean pom pom. Then another long one with a big green pom pom, not stretched out, so has that room to custom fit your head. So my idea that I am doing is, as I make a beanie, I make a scarf. So this is the red scarf to go with that red beanie, and then I just did little tassels on it. And again, just a pencil scarf that, and last but not least is the very first scarf that I made once I started knitting again, and this thing is just unnecessarily long. It's seriously probably a good 6 feet, if not more, and it stretches. And I did big pom poms on this one, but yeah, this one took me probably 2 hours or so to put together. Um, I didn't use a loom. I used an actual knitting machine, and that's what I am trying to get more of right now, are knitting machines. Um, I have this really old vintage knitting machine from like the 1960s or 70s. I think I showed you guys in the last video, but you wind your yarn on here, and then you just forever in a day, and it makes these scarves. I have a loom bar for making for actually making the scarves in the plain panels, and then my last but not least, black scarf with pom poms to go with the black beanie. So my plans are that I am going to try to make up enough of these that I can donate for the winter homeless shelters, and at the very least, maybe even have gifts for people this year. So I want to make the things and then be able to gift the things. So yeah. But here is my other. This was my birthday present to myself, and I think I showed you guys this before. But this is my 40-pin Centro, and this makes the beanies, but I want the 48-pin one because it makes larger adult size beanies, and I could just like do this whole little bit and get everything situated or whatever. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, is just focusing on that stuff. So not what I need to be doing. There's a class that I need to finish out, and that's actually probably something I'm going to try to do today, is get that class finished, because Wednesday, I think, is when the gap training for the peer counselors take place. And I am so far behind on that initial test, but I don't want to have to do any kind of additional training outside of the other 30 hours, I think it is, that we got to do for the gap training. So I got to hustle my bustle and get my shit together, like quick, fast, and in a hurry. But yeah, so, this is what I've been doing for the last few days, is winding up yarn and knitting, and just being a happy person with all of my stuff. I don't know if I'm using it as a distraction from processing my biological mother's passing, or if it is just something that I'm hyper fixated on right now for the first time in decades, for the first time in a few years. Like, I was cranking these out probably 2 or 3 hats a week, and I had a whole setup. I have no idea where any of my old tools are, so I'm basically starting from scratch again and adding some tools to the arsenal. And I got on the buy sell nothing page, or a couple of the buy sell nothing pages, and was like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. If anyone has any extra yarn, if you have knitting looms, if you have knitting machines that are just sitting around that you're not using, I would love it. I would love to put them to good use, the whole 9 yards, yada yada huda. And yeah, so I did get one response from somebody, and they said that they have some things, so they'll be dropping them by. And today's project is going to be using this really pretty purple Chanel, And I don't know if I'm just going to do a scarf or if I'm going to try to do a full-on beanie. But I do know at some point this weekend, this Chanel is going to be used. I have 3 of these little balls, and if I have to, I'll pick up a couple of more at the Dollar Tree because that's where I got this. So, yeah. And my cat is singing the song of his people. I don't know what his problem is, but anyways, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section down below. And yeah, I will talk to you next time. Bye, guys.